In this video, we will be working with relative positioning. To set something to have relative positioning, we use the position property and set the value to relative. And then when you want to move it from its current position, then you would have to use the left, right, top, bottom, or a combination of all four, or two or three, and that will move that. You can, for example, set the top to 10 pixels. And when you do that, when you set a left, right, top, bottom, or any combination of that, then you can take an element out of normal flow. What does that all mean? Well, let's see. Let's add some code. We'll start a new section in the HTML. My opening and closing section tags, and an opening and closing article tag inside that. For the H2, we'll make it, say, relative positioning. We'll add 3 paragraphs talking about relative positioning. We'll say an element with, quote, position relative, quote, is positioned relative to its normal position. Now, in the previous video, we just learned all about normal position. It's when things are where they should be as you declare them in your HTML file. Setting the top, bottom, left, and right properties of a relatively positioned element will cause it to be adjusted away from its normal position. Other content will not be adjusted to fit into any gap left by the element. So after a particular element goes bye-bye, goes somewhere else because of the top, bottom, left, right, or a combination of any of that, all those different properties, it will leave a gap, but then other elements will not fit into the space that was left behind. That's just how it works with relative positioning. And we'll see that when we start adding relative positioning here. Let's add the next 2 paragraphs first, though. This second paragraph is the one that I want to give relative positioning to, but not yet. We'll just say this is the second paragraph. And for the third paragraph, we'll say the second paragraph in this section has relative positioning. Save this HTML file and refresh your preview. Right now, everything is still static. It has normal positioning. Everything is where they should be based on how we declared them in our HTML file. This is the normal position for the second paragraph that we will be giving relative positioning to in the next minute or 2. Let's go ahead and do that. We'll add a class to the second paragraph so we can set a selector to do its magic with relative positioning. We'll call this class position1. Save that with your CSS file and create that selector dot position1. Make sure that the selector names match. We'll say position relative. Save that and refresh. And nothing happens even though the second paragraph has relative positioning now. And that's because we have not set the top, bottom, left, and right properties. It's not going to move until we do that. So let's do a left property. Say 660px. Save. Now, before I refresh this, take note of where the second paragraph should be. Now, when I refresh it, it is now 660 pixels from the left of its normal position. 660 pixels. You'll also notice that even though there's this space right here, other elements don't move around. They don't adjust to fit into any gap left by the element. This third paragraph did not push itself up there. If you inspect this, you'll see that nothing is positioned within this area here where the second paragraph would normally be. It leaves a gap. That's what relative positioning does. And for that very reason, I don't find relative positioning practical in layout design. It leaves awkward gaps and it could really mess with your layout. However, it's your web page, so if you want to try it out, I say go for it. Last thing I want to add is a top property along with this. We'll say 30px. Save that, refresh, and now I've made it to where the third and second paragraph are like lined up, but that's not how I have it declared in my HTML. So this is what I mean by using CSS, using relative positioning, absolute positioning, or fixed positioning to move things around away from their normal flow. In the next video, we will get into absolute positioning.